Live.
Welcome back. I'm Jake Tapper, joined here with Rick Baldwin, my
Hello.
colleague, and the pre-debate coverage of the Iowa caucus debate coming shortly. Mia, I have a couple questions for you. Who do you think will stand out in this debate?
Well, um, you know, based off of polling, recent polling, um, I honestly think that there will be a lot of interactions between Best and Sanders, having them being the front runners for a while now.
Uh-huh.
I think that will definitely play a factor,
Mhm.
but this might just be my opinion, but I love seeing the underdogs come
Yeah.
up, so we might be seeing some interesting stuff from Davidson tonight, because this is his, as you know, he just started his campaign, but I think
True.
he's been thinking about this for a while, and yeah.
True. Just joining, wants to make it to the top. He's gonna
Yep.
do anything possible to get there.
Yep.
Now, another person to look out is Dominguez, throwing shade out at the Best campaign earlier today.
Yes.
Yeah. So, how do you think his temperament will be in the debate?
Well, um, you know, I'm expecting him to sort of be like Sanders. I think he will definitely be similar to tag teaming with Sanders and attacking the Best campaign, knowing that Best and her campaign have been
Uh-huh.
consistent about their plans, their speeches. They've done a lot of campaign efforts, and yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, multiple polls coming out. Monique was running high at the top at the first couple of polls, and then shot down by Robert.
Yes, that
Best polling at 26%. Sanders 23.8. Pittman 19. Lampros 14.3.
yes,
Uh,
but I am definitely expecting Best to hop right back up in the polls.
so you think she's gonna do a good performance tonight?
I do. I think she is strong. She's faced these attacks before, and I think that she'll definitely know the right responses at the right time.
All right. Yeah. Well, people say, and polls are saying, that Sanders is favored in Iowa and New Hampshire. Do you see any possible chances for the other candidates?
Um, you know, I see a little bit of a chance for Pittman, actually, because um
Yeah, and he was
being
not even favored to in any polls. He's vying for that third place in Iowa against Lampros.
yes,
Could be
but
tight.
there are Iowa has tendencies to not always
Yeah.
support the front runner in every single race. I think that Pittman has a chance. He's a moderate. He can speak to Democrats from all parts of the spectrum, but he can also speak to some of those Trump supporters that voted for Trump in 2016 that are fed up.
All right, Senator Sanders is walking on stage. Let's see if we can ask him some couple of questions.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hello,
yeah.
Senator Sanders.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Jake?
All right, yeah, ready for this debate?
Oh, I'm more than ready. We are coming into this debate with strong poll numbers, and I'm sure you guys saw our fundraising numbers last a couple of days ago. Very strong fundraising numbers, very strong town hall performance against Senator Best, and I think we're looking at a good debate tonight. And I'm really excited to see that the debate commission allowed Senator Davidson, or sorry, excuse me, Governor Davidson to participate in this debate. I think it's wholly important that we allow an array of candidates to be allowed on the debate. And even though he's not participating in the Iowa caucus, I think it's important that his voice is heard when thinking about a broader national debate. So we're looking forward to this debate. We're looking forward to some interesting exchanges going on.
Yeah. You're favored in Iowa. You have been favored in Iowa for quite a while now, and are you ready for any attacks that would coming for you? Because you are the front runner, and I'm sure you're gonna get attacked.
Oh, of course, of course. I mean, even if I wasn't the front runner, just the anti-establishment, bold, progressive campaign I'm bringing forth is for sure going to garner some attacks, especially from those who've taken super PAC money. I mean, I'm sure you know, Jake Tapper, three out of the 5 candidates participating in this debate tonight have taken super PAC money. It's only Governor Davidson and I that haven't our entire careers, and that's going to be, I'm sure, pointed out in this debate tonight because we need to end the corporate consolidation of our government, and we're wholly prepared for the attacks that the establishment moderate candidates are going to be bringing at us for sure.
Yeah. You're also favored in a hypothetical matchup with Trump, 47% for you, and 39% for Trump. The others narrowly beating him: Lampros 46-40, Dominguez 45-43, and Pittman 44-43. Why do you think your message is resonating through the people and not the others?
Well, look, I mean, it's pretty simple. The American people are fed up with gridlock in Congress. They're fed up with establishment candidates telling the same old arguments over and over again. They're tired with the Democratic and Republican establishments constantly telling them, look, we need to move to the center. We need to move to the center. That's why 100 million Americans don't vote in every election. And I'm polling better than Trump because I'm the one that's actually capable of unveiling how he is a true demagogue, how he is a true authoritarian leader who's moving our country towards a dangerous path that we might not be able to recover from. We cannot survive 4 more years of Trump. And the urgency that I bring to my campaign and the vision and the broad coalition of ideas and people that I bring forth is resonating with the American people in ways that have been seen for generations. So we're really looking forward to it. But polls are going to go up and down. We're just going to continue to push forward our campaign and beat Donald Trump and transform this country.
All right, Brooke, any questions for the senator?
I have one question. So, as you know, there are some moderates in this race that are saying that they would have a better chance at gaining those Trump supporters that supported him in 2016, and that they would have a better chance speaking with them and getting their votes. As center left Democrat, what do you have to say to those claims that they would be better at that than you?
Well, look at the polls. I mean, look at their campaigns. I mean, not only are they worse at beating Trump in the head-to-head matchups, but also they're losing the Democratic primary right now. If their ideas were truly resonating with the American people, don't you think they'd be tied neck and neck with one of us? Right now, it's Senator Best and I, the 2 most progressive candidates in the race, and Governor Davidson, who's rising right now in the polls, and Mr. Davies, who's rising in the polls, that are beating the quote-unquote moderate coalition in the party. So I think the most clear example of this is 2016. We nominated a moderate. We had this argument before. How did that turn out to us? Trump got 308 electoral votes, so it's not going to work very well. The last time Democrats won elections was when Barack Obama won the biggest election, is when Barack Obama in 2008 ran on a progressive message of change. That's not the message that Mr. Pittman or Mr. Dominguez is running on. Barack Obama did not get up to the debate stage or get on to rally in the general election and say, yeah, folks, let's get back to normal. After 8 years of a war criminal president, let's get back to normal. That's not a message that works. That's not a good political message. And the message that we're bringing forth of hope, change, and transformative goals for this country resonates way far better than the moderate candidates do. And that's been proven time and time again throughout history.
All right, thank you, Senator Sanders.
So you mentioned polling. We're talking about the Democratic nomination. Now, yes, you could win the Democratic nomination, but there's still those Republican voters that might not want Trump, someone that far left, or far right, but they also might not want someone as far left as you or Monique Best.
Yeah,
So,
well, I mean, we that's why well, I kind of reject the premise of that question. Um, Polls have shown that we poll at 20% or higher with Trump voters. That's on par with some of the other candidates in this race, not the moderate candidates. So I'm garnering those Republicans that might not want Trump and they want real change in this country. But we don't even necessarily need those. However, I am doing good with those, and we are continuing to reach out to those people. We need to
and
bring. We need to bring. Excuse me for a second. We need to
I'm
bring in.
sorry to interrupt you, but
We need to bring in
John
non-voters.
Lampros has just dropped out of the race for president.
Oh, that's really surprising. John
John
Lampros.
Lampros.
John Lampros is a good friend of mine. He's run a fantastic campaign. That's really
This
heartbreaking.
was
But getting back to the point, we need to bring in the 150 million people in this country that did not vote the last election. That's the people I'm bringing in. That's the people I poll best with. In 2016, we brought a lot of those voters in, and we brought a lot of new voters in. We're going to continue to bring those new voters in. If we were the general election candidate and we had head-to-head matchups with Trump, the voter turnout would be as high as it was in 2008, if not higher.
Okay.
All right, other people walking on stage now. Senator Sanders, it was nice talking to you.
Yeah, thank you for talking to me. I got to prepare a little bit more, so we're going to go backstage for a second.
Yeah. All right, Pittman, Mr. Vice President.
Hello, it's great to be with you.
Yeah, welcome. Are you ready?
I'm ready as I can ever be.
All right, that's nice to hear. Wait, let me get something real quick. All right, you're the underdog. All right, you're polling mostly fourth or third place in Iowa caucus polls. The recent poll done by PBS and the Washington Post had you at 16%, a little behind, vying for that third place against former candidate Lampros. Do you think you have a good shot at winning this?
Well, thank you for that question, and I'm gonna miss John being in the race. He was a great candidate, a friend of mine, and his presence will be missed. And to your other question, I do believe that we have a chance in this race because I'm offering up a vision to reshape America together. This president has destroyed us as a country and as a people. And it's time that we choose a unifying figure to bring us back normal. And I'm going to express that tonight. I'm not going to talk about what I can do. I'm going to promise what I will do. And I'm going to make sure that I separate myself from those on the woken left. And I'm going to express that a lot.
All right, Mr. Vice President, you're also the weakest opponent for Trump, polling at 44% against Donald Trump's 43%. Why do you think your message is resonating with the people?
Well, look, I don't pay attention to polls. I just go out there and I campaign and I take my message to the people. That's what I do. And trust me, in the general, I will beat Donald Trump. I will take him on head to head. He doesn't want any of this that I have to offer because he's afraid of people who can play him at his own game and win. And I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and the top progressives in this campaign, like Senator Sanders and Senator Best, are coming at you, saying a moderate won't make us win. We tried that in 2016, we tried that in 2004, and we tried it in 2000. What makes you think it's going to happen in 2020?
Well, here's
what's your stance on it?
Well, here's my stance on that. When has a far left candidate ever won the presidency? When has somebody so extreme to the left and unacceptable to the middle has ever run? We elected, the past Democrats we've elected have been moderates and pragmatists who've been willing to work together for a better future for all. And I believe that I can do it. And I reject this whole status of a milquetoast moderate. I'm a passionate pragmatist who believes in finding common ground and working for a better tomorrow with everyone. So I think it's just enough with the limitless test. It's getting pretty ridiculous and it's sad because we have to unify together. This country cannot stay divided forever.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Brooke,
Thank
do you
you.
have any questions for her?
Yes, I do have one. It's similar to the question you just asked, but um, you and other moderates in the race have been saying that we need a moderate to win over everyone from all sides of the spectrum, from Republican to independent to libertarian to green to Democratic. Well, my question for you is uh how are you gonna try to reach out to the far left people that are maybe currently considering candidates like Best or Sanders?
Can you repeat that again, please?
How are you gonna try to reach out to the uh like far left that are currently gonna support Sanders or Best? Um, yeah.
Oh yeah, this. Well, look, I understand where these two candidates are coming from. I mean, I disagree with them on how to get there, but I understand where they're coming from, and I understand the senses of their message. But it's just wrong. It's just got flat out wrong. I mean, that's just simple. If I'm the nominee, I will reach out to their supporters because we must have a unified party to beat Donald Trump. No one end of the spectrum can do it alone. We must be united, and I'll reach out to them in any way I can possible. But my suggestion to them is that if me or any other moderate candidate wins, that we unify. There's no time to cry over spilled milk. We have to win together. Only then can we reshape America together. So that's my thinking on that issue.
Okay. Thank
Rick,
you.
can I have a follow? I'm here now, moderator. Can I just ask you a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
So you say the question was, how will you reach out to far left voters? Your response was you'll reach out in several ways. I just want for you to clarify which ways you will reach out to these far left socialist voters.
Which
The
ways?
actual specifics with which you'll reach out to them.
Well, that'll have to come another time. Right now, we're going to see how this race goes. And if I do win, trust me, there will be a process to reach out to those voters specifically.
So just to clarify, you don't currently have any plan in place to reach out to those voters?
I'm not the nominee yet. So if your question is, do I have a game plan? Or as of now, no, I do not. But if I am, I will craft a specific game plan with me and my campaign team, and we will execute it.
And one final follow-up question. You have described yourself on several occasions as the most electable candidate in the race due to your moderate credentials, and you could debate the merits of that, but the question comes down to, considering you just said you do not have a game plan for the general election, how are you the most electable candidate?
I do have a game plan for the general election, as I've expressed. We have to reach out to those disaffected Republicans who don't know what their party is anymore. We have to unify our base. We cannot just be a closed tent party. We have to win everywhere, from competing in North Carolina to Ohio. We cannot forget about moderates and swing voters. They do exist. And I do have a message. It's called a return to normalcy because this president is ruining us currently. So I do have a plan.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. We're going to begin this debate at roughly around 6 o'clock. It's 5:52 on the East
Wait,
Coast.
that isn't even the start of the debate, bruh. I thought this was like midway through the debate.
No, we're just asking questions before debate. We were waiting for you, that's why.
Sorry.
All right. Dave's up next. You can ask him some questions.
Hello, nice to be here today.
Yep. Welcome. All right. You just joined the race today, and you're already on the stage for the debate. Do you think? All right. Wait a minute. Someone take over. Something just happened.
Governor Davidson, what is your position on the issue of, let me pick a random issue, abortion?
So on abortion, this is a very personal issue to millions of Americans across the country. So what we have to do is I believe we should do multiple things. First of all, we need to codify Roe versus Wade and protect a nationwide women's right to choose. But what I do think we should do is that we should ban all third trimester abortion, except for rape, incest, or health of the mother. And I believe what this will do is it will preserve women's rights while also allowing viable human beings that are undeniably in science, human beings that have every viable way to life. The earliest baby that has been born was recently. This happened 20 weeks into the pregnancy. That's all. It was born. It's alive. She's a 2-year-old girl now, and she's doing really good health-wise. That's a precious life. And as Democrats, we should be the party of life, but we also have to be the party of civil liberties. So that's my view on abortion. That's been my view on abortion for a very long time, and that's what I'll plan to do if elected president.
Okay, your position on oofed.
Connor was going to
Healthcare.
Yeah, ask the question that Connor was going to ask, because this isn't the debate. This is just
Governor Davidson, you're not in any for early primary or caucus.
Well, no, it's not the Iowa caucuses. I'll be attending. I'll be in the New Hampshire, the South Carolina, and Nevada.
Oh, so you're not skipping the 4?
No, some staffers released a statement I would, but I decided, look, we only missed the deadline for the Iowa caucus. We can still attend the New Hampshire, the South Carolina, and the Nevada primaries and caucuses respectfully. So we will be heavily campaigning, especially in South Carolina. We'll be putting a lot of resources into that state.
All right. Well, yesterday, the most recent New Hampshire primary polling was released yesterday at 10:09, and Sanders is leading the pack with 29%, Best 26.1, Pittman 17.4, Lampros, that's not in the race anymore, 14.5, Dominguez 13%, other 2 or less. Do you think you would have a chance competing with those numbers?
I do not believe that this my campaign at the moment will have a victory in New Hampshire. I just don't see it happening, to be quite frank with you. But anything's possible, and we will be visiting that state actually tomorrow. But here's the thing: I do think that we can have some good victories. I think my campaign's putting up a really good game plan. We're going to win South Carolina. I think we can. And also, look, so I just announced today, polling's going to come out. So we already made the contribution requirements in order to attend this debate. We got millions. Now, the official numbers haven't released them yet. I will be releasing them after this debate. My campaign's going to put out a statement for this. We're getting support from all over the country, and I think we'll definitely start doing it pretty high in the polls. I think also, me and Lampros, I'm not trying to say that Lampros supporters are going to necessarily support me, but me and Lampros do have very similar, just on the policy, the rhetoric, and personally, we get along very well. I don't know who John Lampros is going to support. No one really knows unless he's talked to people about it.
Yeah, he endorsed Robert Sanders.
He endorsed Robert Sanders. I did not hear about that. Okay. Well, all the supporters probably go to Robert Sanders, but I think we could appeal to some of them, especially in the South, especially in Georgia. And I think that'll be our pathway to the.
All right. Yeah, let's talk about ground game. You just entered today, once again, and the other candidates have been in the race for a couple of months now. Do you think you have the ground game to compete and knock those doors, fundraise, and get the message out in those early 4 primaries? I know you're skipping Iowa, but New Hampshire.
I think we can, and I'll tell you why. Look, none of the people on this stage know what it has, what it takes to win in a swing state, and that's what I've done. I've been two-term governor of a swing state and a Trump state. Trump won it by over 100,000 votes. I won it by pretty big margins. So about the ground game, look, there's multiple reasons why I waited, but one of the reasons is I didn't want to enter if I didn't think I was prepared to actually enter. And I did enter now, and I do think we have a very good ground game. We're going to be opening up offices in New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada soon. And we can take on Trump. This is why we'll be able to take on Trump. We are laying out very progressive policy, populist progressive policy that will make real progress in this country. We know we're not doing. We're not using the divisive rhetoric that conservatives and Republicans use to attack us. I'm not going to go around claiming that I'm a democratic socialist. I'm not going to go around saying we should decriminalize legal border process. These are unnecessary, provocative things that some people in our party use to try to gear up their own base, but in reality, this will lead to disaster in the general. But at the same time, also, we got some people on the stage. For instance, former Vice President Pittman.
Whose record are you claiming, David?
Well, we have some people on the stage that have called themselves Democratic.
David, whose record are you claiming?
In this election, you are mistaken.
David, whose record do you claim?
Well, for instance, a certain senator from New Hampshire that will be attending this debate has claimed to be a Democratic socialist.
All right, David, answer the question. Whose record do you claim?
What?
Like, what politician's record do you claim? Everyone's claimed a politician's record.
Ron DeSantis.
I'm just making up my own stuff as I go. Also.
Yeah, but you have to claim a politician's record so we can talk about it.
For the most part, imagine a progressive Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, but we can't imagine a progressive Ron DeSantis. If you pick Ron DeSantis, you choose his entire record.
Huey Long.
Huey Long. Who's Huey Long?
All right.
He is the former governor of Louisiana during the 30s.
During the No, it has to be a modern politician.
God damn. I don't know.
You got 1 minute. You got like 30 seconds.
All right,
progressive policy. Just do that. Come on.
No. You can't do that. We have to have an actual politician.
Yeah,
David, just pick one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of Democratic governors that I like.
We're gonna begin when Monique comes back.
Anyways, so what was the question? Yeah, we can obviously beat
Tell Monique to come
Donald
back.
Trump, and I think
David, you need to have a record.
My name on him. We'll be beating Donald Trump. I don't.
All right, thank you. We have to move on quick because Monique's gonna come back, and we gotta get all of them real quick. Dominguez, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Well, you joined, I believe, the campaign. Was it yesterday? I believe so.
I think the day before, or the other.
But you joined the campaign a little late, and you're already, I believe, right now since Land Post is out, you would be considered fourth place in Iowa. The latest Iowa poll that was out just a couple of hours ago at 4:01 p.m. today, you were at 14.2. You're rising through the polls very quickly. Why is your message resonating with the people?
Well, this is a pretty simple question with a pretty simple answer. I believe our campaign staff has had a lot of effort in gaining the support in Iowa we need to win the caucus. Plus, I see many and tons of people concerned about jobs. That's why they voted for Trump by a huge margin. In 2016, they were concerned about jobs. And what have I been talking about the most in the last few days? Jobs. I want every American to be employed, and I will do my best to ensure that and develop a diversified and productive and competitive economy where we produce, where we export, and where we have a balanced budget and low interest rates, which will allow for small businesses and worker cooperatives to succeed in this country.
And so you're saying you can beat Trump and
I have a quick question for you, Connor.
All right. Give me a DM.
On the graph.
Just
thing?
say it in DMs. I'm interviewing someone right now. Thank you very much. So you said that you can get those former Democratic voters that voted for Trump.
Yeah.
They're worrying about the jobs. They're worrying about the economy, and I assume your record is more moderate than Senator Sanders and Senator Best, and you're competing against Pitt. I mean not Pitt. Pittman. So Sanders and Best, I also said this with Pittman, say that moderates won't give us this victory we need. Progressives are the way to go. We tried it in 2016. We tried it in 04 and 2000. It's not going to work. What's your stance on that?
Well, about beating Trump, okay, so people have been saying this whole a lot of stuff to win, trying to bring up the electability argument, of course. And what I say to that is that don't call me a moderate. Let's not tag the candidates. Someone is a communist, the other one's a moderate, the other one is a corporate Democrat. That's not how it works. Let's see people policy by policy. Let's look up the candidates for their stances on the issues that matter, not their tags. We can beat Trump. I did support him as governor of Texas. I thought this was the best, and I was wrong. And I admit it today. Trump has ruined our country. And with this rhetoric, with this message of getting every American a job, this is going to make us win. This is going to make the whole Rust Belt go for the Democrats. Competition in House elections, Senate elections for the party. This is going to benefit the Democrats as a whole. This is going to make us compete even more amongst the Latino and Black voters, getting them even lower unemployment rates in states like, for example, Florida, Texas, the state they govern, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada, growing the support in these communities, these industrial and with diverse people will make us beat Trump and will allow us to succeed in the path of the nation we want.
All right. Well, you're not favored. All right.
Can I just go through a few things? Just in terms of the debate rules, firstly, can we just go through each one of the candidates, and could each candidate say the name of the politician's record, which they have claimed? So first, Andrew, which politician's record have you claimed?
Excuse me?
What
I claim Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont's record.
I have claimed Greg Abbott, the governor of the state of Texas.
Pittman is
Bryson.
Joe. He's Joe.
Bryson, Joe Biden. Okay, yeah. David, this is your chance.
Much consideration. I think Governor Jay Inslee kind of represents my campaign, the style of campaign that I'm running. But
okay, Jay Inslee. Okay.
And Best is Warren. Best.
Okay. Okay. So in terms of the debate rules, my concept was, unless Connor had, I'll just say what I think, and then Connor can say what because he's ultimately running the debate, he can say what he thinks. My concept was that each candidate has 2 minutes for opening and closing statements. In answering, a moderator can ask a question to a candidate. The candidate will answer the question, and then following the answer of the question, the moderator has the opportunity to ask 2 follow-up questions. Once the moderator has asked said follow-up questions, each of the other candidates can make rebuttals to the candidate's questions. And then, of course, following all the questions to the candidate at the end of the debate, there will be the closing statements, and then this will end the debate.
I'm sorry, we have to wait for Monique Best.
Yeah, we'll begin. All right, I'm gonna continue. Yeah, Maya, that's fine. We'll do that because I didn't even. We're gonna continue with Dominguez. You still there? You still there, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. You're doing good in Iowa. You're doing somewhat good in New Hampshire. You're doing somewhat good in South Carolina. But let's talk about Nevada. You're the top choice in Nevada. You're at 23%, Sanders 20, Lamprost, that's not in the race anymore, 18, Pittman 13, Best 11, Tawney 6, Fox 4, and Marty Davis at 3. Other less than 1%. Why do you think your voice and your campaign is doing so good in Nevada, but struggling in the other 4?
Well, basically, I think this has to do a lot with the fact that Nevada has a huge Latino population, and I think they would be proud of seeing a Latino president who has had a successful career as governor of Texas. See them, see them in the Oval Office would make him really, really, really proud of their identity. That there's an America, there's home in America for those who are different. That applies to all. For example, when we saw Barack Obama win the nomination, a lot of African Americans were identified with him. I think the case is the same in Nevada.
All right. Earlier you started attacking Senator Best and let me go to your post.
Okay. So
yeah, about the border issue. What was that whole issue about?
Well, I'm glad you asked because, as you know, as I said, I'm Latino, and I think there should be fair immigration policy for all, a path to citizenship. I'm all in favor of that 100%. Let's make immigration reform. Let's eliminate DACA, but give them citizenship instead. And this whole thing with Monique in specific was about that instead of following the process, the laws, a lawmaker should incentivize these, that everyone comes into America legally. It's a lawmaker we're talking about. She wants to decriminalize border crossings, and I don't think that's good. As governor of Texas, and I have experience with dealing with the border, and this is not good for our country. We have to put Americans wherever they come from. I don't really care where you come from. As long as you have come here legally or have reconciled yourself with society and made the whole process to be legalized, I think you're good, and I think you can do a lot good for this country as well. We're going to include you on our plans, and those who do not follow the law will go out or go to prison. That's my stance, of course. Now, we've seen this thing of abolishing ICE. Look, it's not, they have talked a lot about decriminalizing. As we know, there's a whole safety issue down at the border. And I think all Americans agree with this. It's time to stop illegal immigration, strengthen up border security. But there's this big but. Let's not take it to the extreme. President Trump has made this terrible promise of building an expensive and useless wall. As you may know, around 60% of illegal immigrants are from overstaying visas, and the president himself, he claims to be a fiscal conservative candidate. He wants a balanced budget. He wants to spend 25 billion that will be paid by the taxpayers, not Mexico as he promises. He wants to build this wall, which is completely unnecessary. And you know what we need? We need a relationship with Mexico. They will protect the border. We will protect ours, and we need to improve a lot in that matter, because there's the drugs, for example. Do you like see your kid, for example, smoking, having cocaine? You want your teenager, your children. We won't allow for cocaine or nothing, anything, any substance, any illegal substance to come in from that southern border and from anywhere else. We will be tough in this. Let's have a country without drugs, a safe country that is inclusive, but with those who work their asses. Work their asses to provide for their families. Let's be fair, and let's let the people live. Thank you.
Is Kenneth here?
Okay, so considering it looks like Monique isn't going to come, I think we should wait until 20 past, and if she does not come by then, we should start the debate.
No,
Right.
no, I think we should just start now. She skipped the
Yeah, we
debate.
should definitely start now. I second.
Yeah, I don't think so. I've been waiting forever. No.
She
ready.
skipped
Yeah,
the debate.
I've been here for like an hour. I don't want to just.
All right. We're gonna start. Everyone, mute your mics, please.
Okay.
May, what you're gonna lead off with questions, then Mia, and then I'll go.
Okay.
Okie dokie. Once you've introduced all the candidates, can I just explain the rules?
Yeah, that's why you're doing the intro. Yeah.
Cool. Well,
And it's
you introduce the candidates, and then I'll do the rules.
all right. All right. Kenneth is Clinton. Cameron is who?
I am myself.
Oh my God. Okay.
You have to
Wait, what?
you have to claim
Wait,
a
is everyone
record
having
a
a claim
politician.
candidate?
Mike Gravel.
Oh, yeah, I'll claim Michael Gravel then, yeah. No, Andrew Yang.
John Elliman's
Okay.
already claimed Andrew Yang.
No,
I'll
he
be Mike
dropped
Gravel.
out.
I'll be Mike Gravel.
All right. Okay. Anyways. All right. Let's get this started. Mute your mics, please.
In the race for the presidency. 10 candidates, each with a chance to alter the course of this primary contest.
They're backstage now. It's debate night for the Democrats.
That's enough music.
Are you going to stop the music or what?
You're punished. Stop.
Oh my god, I feel like I'm in a fucking movie.
It's almost done. Hush. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first Democratic debate for Iowa. I'm Jake Tapper here with my colleagues Mayo Walbo and Mia Santiago.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
We're going to introduce the candidates. Senator from New Hampshire, Robert Sanders. Secretary Kenneth Quinones. Governor of Florida, David Davidson. Cameron Andrews, I don't know your state. Former Vice President
Alaska, by the way.
And Governor Andrew Dominguez of Texas. Okay, we'll take it.
So, the rules of the debate tonight are as follows. Each of the six will have an opening statement. This opening statement may last no longer than 2 minutes. Following the opening statements, each candidate will be asked individual questions. Once the candidate has asked each question, the moderator who asked the question will be allowed to ask 2 follow-up questions. Once these follow-up questions have been asked, other candidates will be allowed to rebut what the candidate has said. Once the debate questions have concluded, each candidate will have 2 minutes to give a closing statement. Then the debate will be finished. Thank you.
All right. We're going to start off with Andrew Dominguez from Texas.
Okay. I would like to thank the moderators for holding this debate and my opponents for coming here. So, first off, my fellow Americans, fellow Democrats, and fellow Iowans who will be voting in the caucus tomorrow. You all have choices to pick come this campaign beginning. I'm next to people with diverse policies. Iowans this time have the chance to pick a reasonable and comprehensive politician who understands them. A candidate that stands for our agricultural industry. A candidate that stands for equal pay for equal work. A candidate that stands for green jobs and more public transportation. A candidate that stands for the people, and a candidate that stands for their jobs. My priority as president will be letting all Americans provide for their families with a good wage and good working conditions. This is what I want for my country. But in the past 30 years or so, government and corporate politics have been in the way of the middle class. Let's create a model that benefits the small businesses and worker cooperatives that will help the people actually succeed. Let's reverse the Trump tax cuts and have hurt the middle class and benefited the upper classes, and let's make a permanent tax cut for the American people. Let's make a negative income tax for those who need it the most. There's so much in play. We will do it. We can do it this time around. Let's win this and let's go into the debate. Thank you all.
All right. Vice President Bryson Pittman. Bryson.
Mr. Pittman.
All right. We're moving on.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you to CNN for hosting this debate, and it's great to be here with all my opponents on the stage. We announced this campaign with a promise to reshape America together and return us to normalcy and restore dignity to this great country. God knows this president has torn this country apart in pieces and fatally wounded our soul. Tonight, you're going to hear from competing visions from us. Some have called to take on the establishment with fairy tale wish list ideals that have not a chance of ever becoming reality. I'm focused on being realistic, not woke. It's another thing to call for big structural change, but can you actually carry weight if elected? Folks, I'm running to return us back to normal again and transform our future with pragmatic solutions that will unify us all regardless of label. This is an emergency, and we cannot wait for woken socialism to save us from these troubled times of Trump's America. I look forward to discussing the important issues tonight. And to Donald Trump, who's watching at home, I know, tonight I say, buddy, pack your bags because you're going to carry your small fortune in small hands back to Mar-a-Lago. Thank you.
All right. Cameron Andrews.
I'm a senator, but okay, whatever.
Senator Cameron
Senator
Andrews of
Andrews.
Alaska.
Thank you. First off, I have just entered this race because none of these people understand the needs of small town America. I come from a state, Alaska, that is similar to Iowa, but we do not get enough attention America unless people need our votes. I will work for small town American communities to make sure that our lives are better. I'm an example of a person who's been able to break through in a state that has been historically Republican. This is the key to be able to win, not just win the Rust Belt, but win other states that the Republicans hold on to, but Democrats can win. I bring big plans, including, of course, bringing universal healthcare system, also known as Medicare for all, and also universal basic income. Now, those are the two most progressive plans I have, but everything else I believe in is very moderate and very, very self-conscious. We need to make this decision in Iowa to make sure that the American people's future is protected and that everyone can live the same at the same lifestyle no matter what your income is. Thank you.
All right. Governor David Davidson of Florida.
Hell
David.
yes. Thank you for having me here today. You know, I didn't grow up rich. I didn't grow up in the powerful. I didn't grow up in the 1%. I grew up in little old Pensacola. And wait, I'm trying to find my speech. That's my papers on the ground. Uh-oh. You know, look, I paved a path for myself through hard work and blessings from my family, my friends, my employers, and God. Right now, folks, right now, the American dream is dying. We have a president who thinks the tax cuts for the rich more important than expanding access to healthcare. We have a president who thinks making a name for himself as a wartime president is more important than national security. We have a president that's standing in the way of progress. As governor of Florida, I expanded funding to protect our environment and fight for climate change, expanded access to Medicaid and Medicare and welfare and affordable housing, boosted our tourism industry, and increased teacher pay, and raised the minimum wage. I will not be competing in the Iowa caucuses. And many of you are asking, well, David, why the heck are you here? So I want to get my message out to all Americans. Whether you're a struggling mom from Detroit or a businessman from New York, everyone has to be involved in this fight if we're going to take on Donald Trump and enact bold progressive plans that'll move our country forward. We'll be focusing on the states, Trump country, in the South and the Midwest. These are places where we can win if we put our resources in. Most importantly, I have a personal record of winning swing districts. I turned, and back, in Florida, ran for the state Senate. I turned the Republican state blue. When I ran for the Florida governorship, I turned that blue also. Now I'm ready to lead the Democratic Party in this nation into a new era of progress and a new America, take on Donald Trump, and get stuff done.
All right, thank you, Governor. Secretary Kenneth Quinones.
Hi, thank you, everyone, and hello, my fellow Americans. In this debate, you will hear from all of us our plans, our mission, our vision, and what we have to take on this president. For the past 3 years, we have seen divisive rhetoric, division, and the utmost destruction in our democratic institutions. I have recently announced my candidacy because I believe that the nation is calling for the beacon of hope, the beacon of to repair our civil liberties and the United States as a whole. My campaign is starting a movement to rebuild this country, to rebuild the working middle class, to ensure that low-income families are protected and equality is spread across. I'm running because I believe that the middle class families should be given a tax break. I'm running because we all believe that the wealthy class should be held to account and to make them pay their fair share. It is time for job creation. It is time for repairment. It is time for a new era. After 35 years of doing public service, devoting myself to this nation, I believe that I have contributed to the utmost uttered devotion, dignity, integrity, and courage. As a woman being spread across this country and visiting nearly 197 countries, I believe it's time for America to elect its first woman to be president of the United States. I am running for a change, and that's why I am asking for you to join us. Thank you, and let's begin.
Thank you, former Secretary. All right, Robert, you good?
Yes. Sorry about that.
All right, Senator of Vermont. I'm in New Hampshire. Robert Sanders.
Thank you. I want to start by remembering the legacy of Martin Luther King. It's important not only to remember that what he stood for, but that we pledge to continue his vision and transform our country. As we look at our country today, the American people understand we have an economy that is rigged. That ordinary Americans are working longer hours for lower wages. 47 million people in this country are living in poverty, and 90 or almost all new income and wealth are going to the top 1%. And then to make a bad situation worse, we have a corrupt campaign finance system where millionaires and billionaires are spending extraordinary amounts of money to buy elections. The American people in this election see the rot and corruption that has permeated both the Republican and Democratic establishments. They see politicians telling them the same old, back over and over again, back to normal, moderate vision, change through incrementalism, and they are sick and tired of it. Why did Donald Trump win? Because we had had 40 years of neoliberal corporate policies being implemented in this country that has left millions without a raise in wages for the past 40 years. It has resulted in trade deals that have sucked up American manufacturing from the Midwest and other places in the country, shipping them to China and the Southeast Asia, ruining our job market and manufacturing industry. It has resulted in inaction on the most dangerous existential threat of our time, which is climate change, leading millions of people in poverty, millions more in threat of having to migrate and move to different homes with the impending threat of a huge new refugee crisis. We have a whole lot of crises going on in this country. What we need now is someone who has a movement that will coalesce the working class and middle class people in this country around the ideas that that we will explain in this debate to defeat Donald Trump. Polls show I'm the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump. The ground game shows I'm the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump. Our fundraising shows I'm the best candidate to beat Donald Trump. Every other candidate brings good issues to this race, but what we need is a mass movement of people to get out there and beat the most dangerous president of our time. Thank you for allowing me to speak here today. Thank you for all the candidates being here today. I'm very much looking forward to speaking on the issues. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. My
Thank
colleague
you.
May Walbot will take over now.
So I have my first question, and I will present it to every single candidate. And after each candidate has given a response, I will give follow-up to it. So firstly, to Senator Robert Sanders, the same question will be applied to everyone. Several candidates who are running in this Democratic primary, such as Mitch Fox and Marty Davies, are not featured in this debate. Many have blamed this on the corporate structure of the media. Do you believe that it is unfair that candidates such as Mitch Fox and Marty Davies are excluded from the debate? And secondly, do you believe that the corporate structure of the media is contradictory to presenting information in such a way that helps the electorate to decide who to vote for?
It is. And this is one of the biggest, thank you, Mayowa, by the way, for that question. This is one of the biggest issues of our time. The media for the past 40 years, 40 years, 1998, 40 years ago, kind of crazy. It has been that Telecommunications Act, signed into law by President Clinton, was the beginning of the end of a fair and free media, to the point where we had it in 1998, which wasn't even that much. It was the end of a fair and free media in this country. Now, media in this country is owned by 4 companies that are all driven by the profit motive. Up until I think 2005, NBC was owned by a defense industry contractor who had a vested interest and profited from the Iraq War. It's no wonder why people who advocated against the war in 2004 were fired, straight shot, from their companies and weren't allowed to give any insight on those issues. And it's another reason why we don't see any media talking about the real issues. They don't talk about 47 million people living in poverty. They don't talk about corporate money in our politics and how it's gridlocked the country for years. They don't talk about how the Democratic and Republican establishment take that money and vote against these bills. They don't talk about the fact that the military-industrial complex has received more money and gets 60% of every tax dollar in this country, which is absurd. And they don't talk about the fact that our nation is a nation committing genocide across the world. Yes, it is unfair that those candidates were excluded, but it also speaks to a broader point about getting money out of politics. And I have the boldest plan to do that. We're going to ban all corporate contributions to the Democratic Party and all related committees, and as president, I would ban all corporate donations for inaugural events and cap individual donations at $500. We're going to abolish the now worthless FEC and replace it with a Federal Election Administration, a true law enforcement agency originally proposed by John McCain and Russ Feingold. We're going to enact mandatory public financing laws for all federal elections to ensure that 100% full stop we have public funding of elections. We're going to update and strengthen the Federal Election Campaign Act to return a system of mandatory public funding for all national party conventions. And we're going to pass a constitutional amendment that makes it clear that money is not speech and corporations are not people. Throughout this debate, you're going to hear my plans be called unrealistic, but I want the American people at home to listen to what I'm saying. Does that sound unrealistic to you? Does banning corporate money sound unrealistic to you? Maybe it does to the people in Washington because they take that money, but not to me. I have been a sole member of the Senate and the House that has fought against these corporate consolidations of our government. And what we need is a presidential candidate who will rail against those corporate consolidations and monopolizations of those markets. And then we need a president who will do the same and end their their stranglehold on the majority of the power in this country, redistributing it to all Americans and not just a corporate elite.
Thank you. That was a very comprehensive answer. Thank you. So just for the follow-up question to that, I'm not sure if you got sidetracked, but you did not answer one part of the question, and that part of the question was, do you think it is unfair that candidates
I don't know
such
if I think you might have missed it, but I did say it is unfair. Yes, it is unfair that they were. I did mention that it is unfair that they were excluded. Marty Daves has fought a long campaign. She has campaigned. Mish Fox has fought a long campaign. He has campaigned. These people are good people. I've read their speeches. I've attended one of their rallies. They bring good ideas to the race, and they should be included in this exchange of ideas that we're having right now between our candidates.
Okay, thank you for your responses. I have concluded the follow-up questions for Robert Sanders. I will go to, let's choose a random, Bryson Pittman. So in your opening statement, you talked about the radical woke socialist left. I would like you to explain and define what the radical woke socialist left is, the policies that surround the radical woke socialist left, and which candidates in this race to represent the radical woke socialist left.
Well, thank you for that question. And I'm pretty sure it's kind of obvious who's part of the radical socialist left in this race. And second, these people who support this ideology, they describe themselves as revolutionaries. Senator Sanders has tied himself and hugged this movement, and he should have every right to. But does it really represent ordinary people in the heartland, in the Rust Belt, in flower country, who might not agree with the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, stuff that has no chance, no how, no way of passing in Congress. And if he's president, does he honestly expect somebody like Mitch McConnell and the Republicans to honestly bow to something called a political revolution? Ha! He hasn't been paying attention because they don't care. These guys don't play fair, they don't play nice. So I don't understand why he thinks that somehow this movement will somehow get him somewhere if he's elected. I just think it's preposterous. And the candidates in the woke primary is Senator Sanders and Senator Bass. Who will win? I don't know. But who's gonna go down first? Hey, it's up to whoever outlifts the other.
Okay,
Can I
thank you.
respond to
So,
that? He didn't directly mention.
okay, so I will let you respond to it, but
40 seconds for
firstly,
rebuttal, right? 45 seconds.
yeah, but I'm just going to. I have the moderator will ask follow-up questions, and then other candidates can respond to other candidates. So, my first follow-up question to you, Pittman, is you talked about how policies such as the Green New Deal and Medicare for All were not popular in the American heartland. A Reuters poll last year polled Medicare for All at 70% popularity, including a majority of Republicans. Do you believe that polls such as this contradicts the claims that you're proposing?
Look, one poll doesn't mean much. Polls are hype these days. I believe that although Medicare for All has popularity, it cannot muster in Congress, and it might be popular to those in New York and California, but is it popular to those in average America who actually work to keep the jobs that they have? And Medicare for All, believe this or not, it will raise your taxes. Senator Sanders knows this as well as I do. If you pass Medicare for All, it's basically a tax raise. And you know what? You might even lose your job after it. So I think he should level with the American people on what actually he's proposing. He's proposing a government takeover of your health care and raising your taxes. And he knows this, and he cannot sit here and tell me that it's not true.
Can I respond to this? 45 seconds.
Well, okay, I'm sure you have many points with which to respond. However, the moderator has one more question, follow-up question to ask. You claimed that will lead to unemployment. Can you just explain to the electorate why this is the case?
Significant studies have shown it. I mean, it's trillion in over the next couple of years. If this is enacted, $30 trillion. This is a costly bill. This is a costly
$50 billion.
Okay, yes, exactly. And another point, like I was saying, this is a costly program. And Senator Sanders cannot explain, nor can Ms. Best explain how to pay for this. And if they tell you that they won't raise your taxes, they're telling you lies, because it will. What I'm advocating for is a public option system that will build on the success. No, do not interrupt me. I am advocating for a public option system that will improve healthcare for all those who want it, not all of those who demand it. We need a fair system that has no bias, that doesn't raise our debt over the next years. We cannot handle it. Donald Trump is already doing it with these tax cuts. We can't afford it with the next president.
I'm just going to remind candidates that our network wishes this debate to remain civil. Any lapses will be not appreciated. Now candidates have the chance to rebut.
Thank you. So there's a couple of points I want to mention there, and I think we'll get to a full and extensive healthcare debate. And just to really quickly dismantle that argument, he said that your taxes are going to be raised, the American people's taxes. Well, if the American people does their healthcare bill, which everyone does, they'll look at the fact that they have premiums, copays, and deductibles, and that for the average family making $60,000 a year, they pay $14,000 for healthcare. Under Medicare for All, your overall costs being paid for healthcare will be $1,200. That's full stop. That's guaranteed, and that's in the bill. So, I mean, your taxes will be raised. I've admit this a couple of times, but you're going to be paying less than $9,000 than you are paying more, even more than $9,000. So that's just completely false. Nice smear, Mr. Pittman. But we also have to talk about the fact that Mr. Pittman's health care plan, the public option, would leave tens of millions of people uninsured. It's a buy-in option. Not many people have the expenses and the out-of-pocket expenses to be buying into a public option. And then when you have the sick people who will gravitate towards the public option, the poor people that will gravitate to the public option, those who are underinsured and uninsured, that means that they can't pay that much into that option. That option cannot compete against the private option, which will be providing healthcare in a more efficient way than the public option that would mimic a private healthcare industry, meaning that the private insurance industries would be receiving a majority of the healthcare that would be provided to the general public. The public option would lead to longer wait times, lower healthcare, and lower quality of service. Medicare for All ensures that you get quality of service, that you get your healthcare based on how much you need it, and that anybody in this country has the right to healthcare and has the right to basic fundamental human rights. This is not an impossible project. What we are doing here is building a mass movement of public sentiment that will travel across this country and will influence those moderate Democrats and those Republicans to vote for the bill. The perfect example of this is our healthcare fight that we just did. We would have lost the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, if we hadn't built a mass movement of people, if people hadn't risen up, yelled at their congressperson, urged them to vote against that amendment. We're going to apply the same power, except this time we're going to have a president of the United States rallying around this country and making sure that those congresspeople and senators that vote against the bill or are potentially going to vote against the bill understand that if they do that, they won't win re-election. That's because Medicare polls at 60% or 70% in almost not just one poll, an average of polls taken on the system, meaning that it is a reliable number, and that 60 or 70% will go even higher when you have a president advocating for that. So what we are going to do is rally the American people around a revolutionary idea. I'm going to be an organizer in chief, and we're going to organize the American people around these ideas to get them done and to ensure that everybody has the right to health care, no matter your expenses, no matter your economic standing in this country. And that's kind of crazy to think that we have Democrats on this stage that don't believe people should be insured. I'm sorry.
Can I get a quick response to that, please?
Okay, so each candidate will have one more response to each other.
Yeah, okay, so it's not about that Democrats don't want people to be insured. We want people to be insured. I do. That's what my plan is about. And your claims about the public option are just frankly inaccurate. You said that it would actually make less waiting times, if I'm correct. Look, here's the point. Medicare for All takes away people's private health insurance. You cannot deny that. And I want to know what's so special about taking away private health insurance. There's nothing special about it. Frankly, you don't understand.
What is private insurance? No,
don't interrupt me. Did I interrupt you?
The situation we're in right now.
I didn't interrupt you, Senator. I didn't interrupt you, Senator. Okay, I didn't interrupt you though. So don't interrupt me. That's the rules of this debate. Like I said, you don't understand that your bill takes away people's health care, private insurance. It does. And you cannot deny that to me. Why do we want to take private health insurance away? That doesn't make any sense. People should have the right to have private health insurance and have private plans. That's called freedom. That's what it's about. That's what this government and this country we live in, that's what it's about, freedom. And second of all, I don't care how much you rally, Republicans will still give you the middle finger. They will not care what you rally about. They will still go quick on that Senate floor and nail your bill quicker than you can believe it. I don't care what you say. That's why I say the realistic plan is a public option.
Can I comment on this just real quickly?
Hold on. Let me respond.
Okay, I believe that was directed to Robert, so I will let Robert respond, and then David can have his say, and then we will move on to the next person.
And then we'll move on. Right. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
So, you didn't address any of my points in that. You just kind of moved on to about the electability argument and how it wouldn't pass, which is untrue, as I disproved in my last response to you. But that doesn't address the fact that your plan does lift people uninsured. There are Democrats on this. I didn't say Democrats as a whole party. I said there are Democrats right here on this stage, including you, Mr. Dominguez, and others who support public options and Medicare for all who want it, that leave people uninsured. Those programs leave people uninsured. Bottom line. Now, to your other point, Medicare, which is a system currently existing, government insurance, works great, is the most popular insurance program in the country by far, and is more popular than any other private plan in the country. You know why? Because it provides quality service at low costs with no premiums, no copays, and no deductibles. Maybe you don't understand healthcare costs for the middle class, but people listening to this debate, hearing that I'm going to get rid of their premiums, copays, and deductibles and the $14,000 that they're paying and make sure that they only pay $1,200, end of story, $1,200 a year for healthcare. People are going to look at that and say, wow, that's a plan I can get behind. You know what you're going to be paying under a public option? You're going to be paying the healthcare costs that it costs you for the public option, and then premiums, copays, and deductibles on top of that. And private insurance is great until you lose your job. Once you lose your job, you lose your insurance. Insurance for your health care should not be tied to your job. That's frankly ridiculous, and we're not eliminating private insurance across the board. If you want more insurance, if you want better insurance, then you can buy supplemental insurance as it is laid out in the bill. So you can continue to make those same old arguments that you've made in every single
it's just a
debate
bunch
we've
of
had in the
malarkey.
past.
No, it's a bunch of
Well,
malarkey.
the people at home will make their decision. You can say it's a bunch of malarkey. I don't say
Well, it
your
is a
plan
bunch
is.
of malarkey.
I don't say
You
your
don't know
plans.
what to
I don't
spin.
make names about your plans. I point out the flaws in your plans and contrast
Well,
them
your
to
claims are
my plan.
malarkey.
I point out
Here's
the flaws in your plans and then point out my plans of mine. And
All right.
the American people will see that and understand who's actually coherently thinking about the insurance, how we should move forward with.
Well, you're not thinking
how
about the
insurance.
taxpayer.
All
You're
right.
not thinking about the taxpayer.
I am thinking
No,
about
you
the
want to raise their
taxpayer, Mr.
taxes. How can you
I
claim
want
that
to
you're
raise their
thinking about them?
taxes,
You raise
and I
their
want to make sure
taxes.
that they pay
Senator
$1,200.
Sanders.
Vice
I want to make
President.
sure that they pay
Yeah,
$1,200.
give me a break. You're raising taxes.
Mr. Vice President.
I've admitted that multiple times. You're making yourself look.
This is what I call the
Mr. Vice
democratic
No, it's
President.
circus.
ridiculous because people
Senator
shouldn't have to
Sanders,
trade
Vice
in.
President.
They shouldn't
Mr.
have to
Vice
have a
President,
tax fight to have good health care.
Mr. Vice President, as per the rules of the debate, we wished for the debate to be civil and a discussion of policy. Interrupting other candidates' answers does not do so. Shouting claims does not help do so. Now, as I said just a couple minutes ago, Robert would say his thing, which he has now said, and now David can say what he was going to say.
So look, the fact of the matter is that we can have Medicare for all, but at the same time, we don't have to take away people's private insurance. It's called Medicare for all for those who want it. So we can have a public plan, and it's totally Medicare for all. Exactly what Senator Sanders has proposed. No premiums, no co-pays, no deductibles, 100% no out-of-pocket charge. But if you want to keep your private health insurance for whatever reason, and I personally wouldn't, I'd rather just have the no out-of-pocket charge health insurance. If you want to keep your private health insurance, you can do so. But if you lose your job, or at any time you want to enroll, you can automatically enroll into the Medicare for All plan. And this is how we can unite America. It's been divided by 4 years of one of the most divisive presidents in American history. And also, if you want to talk about electability, Medicare for All for those who want it is more popular than the public option, more popular than private health insurance, and more popular for Medicare for All. Medicare for All for those who want it is actually the most popular.
Fact check.
I mean, you can fact check it. Medicare for All for those who want it is more popular than Medicare for All. And it's the best program. It gives people the most choice, the most competition. We could really see as progressives. Is our program the best? For instance, it's exactly what we do with education. We have public schools, no payment whatsoever, no out-of-pocket cost. You want to go to a private school or a charter school? You can go to a private school or a charter school. We aren't going to ban private schools or charter schools because we want everyone to have access to education. In the same way, we shouldn't ban private health insurance because we want everyone to have access to healthcare. It's ridiculous. But the public option, yes, the public option would leave millions of people off of their healthcare. You'd still have premiums and co-pays and deductibles. You'd still have a lot of the same problems. It'd pretty much just be like expanding Obamacare. That wouldn't solve everything. We have to have an approach that is bold and progressive, but at the same time unite a divided country and is electable, and it's really what the people want.
All right.
Okay. So now we're going to. So I've asked a question to 2 of the 6 candidates. Now we'll move on to Governor Dominguez. So Governor Dominguez. In 2018, the United Nations released a report on what has become a huge issue in the Roaring Twenties. I'm sure you can guess the issue. It is on the issue of climate change. Report stated that the world and the governments of the world must take sufficient action before the year 2030 to make sure that disastrous consequences can be avoided. What are your solutions to avoid said disastrous consequences?
Well, thank you for the question, and it's really the issue of our time. We can really see that this affects not only the state of Iowa, not only America, the whole world. We need to get together with this issue, start talking with other nations to solve this problem. This is really big. This is also a big factor, will be a big factor in our healthcare, our refugees, climate refugees, which are said to be huge, much more than the refugees from the war of Syria, for example. These reports are dramatic and are coming not only from the UN, but everywhere. We're seeing that if we don't act by a decade or so, the average temperature of the Earth will rise by 1.5 degrees and it will be irreversible. As the only likely to act on the matter, I have ready a piece of legislation which will protect Americans, will protect their environment. We will care about biodiversity, and we will promote green energy jobs through a green development bank, which will hand out loans to those interested in investing in the green industries. For example, solar panels, windmills, etc. We need to lead the fight on climate change. We need to talk to China. And on that issue, they're really important to get this done. I want to reduce emissions. We need their help. And I will collaborate with China to produce more electric cars. And America should be leading this too. We will be talking to Mexico, one of the leading car producers in the whole world, with lots of trade deals. Same as China, same as America. We need to incentivize this electric car industry, as well as the whole green energy industry. And it's really important we step up against fracking and fossil fuel donors, fossil fuel tax, who have donated millions and millions for politicians. This is unacceptable, really. Our politicians have taken money from the deadliest of resources. Doesn't make sense to me. I will be a candidate that will stand up against them. I will be a president that stands up against them. I plan to reduce fossil fuel emission by 50% by 2030, as well as reducing fracking in America, and the top leaders such as Russia and Canada, leaders in oil fracking producers.
Right.
And
Governor Dominguez, we asked you to stay on topic.
No, we do not ask you, because this debate is about letting candidates explore their policy, so you may take as much time as you need.
Okay, thank you. So as I was saying, we have 4 of the leaders in oil fracking producing our United States, Canada, I believe, Russia, and Argentina. We will talk to them and reduce fracking production by 90% by 2030 as well. So this is a candidate with plans and I have outlaid a new bill which I will put up soon. I will post it soon. And in the state of Texas, I'm willing to develop as governor these new industries and tear down all the fracking we have. We need to bring millions and millions of new green jobs, but not through a socialistic way like some are proposing. The Green New Deal is simply unpayable. We have 9 trillion per year with costs. 9 trillion, some will go to the government, to the taxpayers, in fact, because everything government does is paid by the taxpayers. And the rest by the consumers, by the private industry. You know? Who are those? The taxpayers as well. We're leaving the taxpayers with a huge burden on their bill. We're not allowing them to provide for their families. And that, as I said, it was my prime objective. Get every American to provide for their families. I agree, it's the government's responsibility to collaborate with the private industry and tackling down this issue. But in such an expensive manner, it's impossible. In such a short period of time, it's impossible. I'm sorry to bring this. It's simply we have not the infrastructure to do it yet. We don't have the logistics to do it yet. I'm sorry to bring up it for all those who believe it's possible, but due to the cost, due to the logistics, it's impossible and unrealistic. Thank you for listening.
Well, that was a comprehensive answer, but I do have the right to a couple follow-up questions. I'm not quite sure what's wrong with my voice tonight. So the first one is, you mentioned in your answer that you have a piece of legislation ready to help tackle the climate crisis. Could you provide us with more specifics on what that legislation entails?
Yeah,
Policies?
Let me check it. I have right here in my documents. So we have, I will lay out my plans for another bill that I have been planning. So first off, this will be named the Complementary Environmental Protection Act, which will first integrate educative models to the environment, a scholar initiative to tell kids to care about food waste less much, trying to reduce lunch waste as much as possible. We're going to fund NGOs to fight against the fossil fuel industry that has hurt politics so much. We're going to improve and transform business models, especially transport energy. We're going to allow, actually incentivize labor unions to support green initiatives. If employers agree to, they will use a day called the Green Day to teach their workers on how to protect the environment. And this will be funded by the NGOs we talked about before. Then we will be creating the Green Protocol, which would help the environment on a consumer by consumer basis. So, for example, all the rules for little waste life outlined for every American. We're going to plant tons of trees. Reforestation is key in this, as well as a reduction and regulation on agrochemical, something that has not been treated in America. We're going to, I don't know if you do, but the last G20 left us with a consensus document signed by President Trump, which also included a section to tackle this whole climate change thing we're seeing. And let's expand the G20. Let's make more comprehensive international agreements.
Right,
and we're going to. Okay. And if you want me to move on, there's a lot more, I promise. This will be a huge legislation, and I will work with everyone who wants to work with us, even Republicans, even the president, hopefully future former President Donald Trump, and all the candidates who are here in this stage. If they're willing to work with me, I'll accept them. Let's make a comprehensive deal, and let's move on into the issues such as poverty and healthcare that we have to tackle so much. Thank you.
Okay, so just one more follow-up question from myself. My general understanding of what your policy was to try and collaborate with the private sector. Many would argue, especially within the Democratic Party, that the private sector has been responsible for many of the emissions that have led to the climate crisis. For example, a report in 2017 showed that the just 100 companies in the world are responsible for 71% of global emissions. What do you have to say to the concept that the private sector has often been fighting against action on the climate crisis?
Well, this has happened because our government has not had the true initiative of enacting legislation against climate change. Basically, because they bought politics and stuff. They donated tons of money. We're going to stop that, and we are going to tell them, hey, collaborate. Let's do it together, and let's make a transition towards a green economy to produce tons of new energy and tons of new jobs and diversify the economy as much as we can and make America grow this way. And well, I will end the answer here because many people are wishing to speak and I want to hear their ideas as well. So thank you, Mr. Oliver, for your follow-ups and questions.
So if any candidates have rebuttals to this, they may now say them.
Mayo, make sure you enforce the time limits and stuff.
There is no time limit.
Bruh.
Actually, there is a time limit.
Do any
So can I get a question or something?
All right,
you can
let's
get a
move on
question
from the
once I've gone
topic.
through once I've gone through all the candidates you can, and I'm halfway through. So my next candidate I will ask questions to is Senator Andrews.
Thank you.
So many have argued that over the recent years, over the past 40 years, that deregulation of the economic industry of Wall Street and other such financial institutions has led to... Okay, I will start from... Yes, I will repeat, and I will start from the beginning. So, so over the last several decades, there have been many policies introduced aimed at economic deregulation. Many have argued that this economic deregulation has led to great financial crashes, such as that of Wall Street in 2008. My question to you, Senator Andrews, is what policies will you enact to counter this regulation, this deregulation, and how do you believe that this will help the American people?
Okay, so basically, the reason why a lot of jobs. What?
Continue, keep it short.
Okay, so basically, a lot of jobs and all things have been losing, not what President Trump's been saying by immigrants, but automation, and our economy's been slowing down that way because the rich have been getting richer and the poor have been getting poorer. People know that. What we need to do is make it more inclined for companies to be in America and work and have employees in America. What we need to do is if they plan to sell in America, if companies leave America, and they plan to sell these products to Americans, there will be major tariffs and taxes on these products unless they move these jobs back to the United States. Because these jobs that get moved out of the United States by companies leaving and bring them to cheaper places with cheaper labor prices, like China and Africa, countries in Africa, it derails the American economy, but these companies also want to sell back to the American people. And a lot of these companies are doing that because they have essentials that people need to buy. So if we force tariffs and taxes to make sure that they can't so high that it's not profitable for them to sell here unless they make their products in America, and also if they have headquarters or any offices in America, we will also declare that they must make at least 30% of their product in the United States.
Okay, thank you very much. So, my first follow-up question to you, Senator Andrews, is that you did not necessarily answer the question. I will repeat the question. The question was essentially, to paraphrase, what impact has deregulation and other such neoliberal policies had on large-scale economic crashes like that of the 2008 financial crisis? So, would you care to comment upon which deregulations, if you do think that it has led to a financial crisis, which
Yes.
deregulations you think has, and what policies would you implement to reverse them?
Basically, but sorry, I misunderstood the question before, but deregulations, yes. Economically, I do find myself more conservatively leaning, but I find that we need regulations to be able to hold companies accountable, because if there's no regulations, these big corporate companies and corporate firms will do whatever they want to the American people, and thus will take millions of jobs away from the American people, leaving them to thus strive for American people to go for themselves that good, capable job. Basically, deregulations, if you look at a lot of them in the housing crash, especially, deregulations with a lot of the things in the housing market, deregulations on factory work, these have made major impacts within. So yes, I do believe it has had impact on economic downfalls. I mean, have to overturn that by putting these regulations that state that if these companies want to sell in America, they have to employ a certain number of Americans, because they don't realize that their impact is affecting their company, because they're only worried with the bottom line, and they'll only make the major differences they need to make if there's a major crash. But we need to make sure there's no major crash again, because that hurt the American economy. So what I suggest we do is that we, that we show them that if we do another crash, it will hurt their businesses more and more, and that if they do not want this to happen, and if they threaten to leave the country because of potential crashes in the market, we will threaten with putting taxes on them.
Okay, so just my final follow-up question before I have the opportunity to rebut. You mentioned the aim of trying to prevent any future financial. Many on the left within the Democratic Party would argue that financial crashes such as that seen in 2008 and the Great Depression in the 20th century are a natural result of capitalism. Would you agree with this statement?
Yes and no to an extent, because if you look like small
limit.
Okay. If you
Did
look
I
at
ask Connor? No, I didn't.
Okay,
Let him answer.
yes, and I say yes and no because Great Depression and the financial crash, I think, are exceptions. But other things you'll see when markets go down, yes, it is a result. But these ones are a result of capitalism and also corporate greed.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're now, some of them have left. We are down to the final.
It's Kenneth. Go.
We're final. No, it's not. Yes, it is Kenneth, actually. So I'm going to take my time on this, considering Connor is rushing me. So my question towards Kenneth is, in the 2016 election, Donald Trump defeated Hillary Clinton. In this election, Donald Trump won the majority in the Electoral College, but Hillary Clinton won the plurality of votes. Do you believe that this electoral system is unfair and it should be changed? And if so, what reforms would you implement to change this system?
Well, thank you for the question. And yes, I indeed lost to Donald Trump back in 2016. But let's not forget that Donald Trump has called upon for foreign interference. And while while the Mueller report indicated 10 possible crimes committed by Trump and his agents, Mueller found at least at minimum 10. And let's not forget that this president will go so far to actually continue to do it again. He's invited Ukraine. He has publicly invited China. And it just adds on. So, to your point on me losing the electoral college vote but winning the popular vote, I believe that the framers created such a system to give voice for the smaller states. The fact that it gives a bit of more power and say to a state such as, who knows, we could say Montana with its only 3 electoral votes compared to a bigger state with more, like California. It gives the opportunity for all candidates to participate in campaign in states that have electoral votes rather than just campaigning in urban and suburban areas and forgetting about rural America. I believe that if elected president, I believe that we need to find more ways to assist voters, setting a federal holiday and guaranteeing that Americans have a day off when it comes to voting in the federal election for their president. We need to guarantee that a reformative system for voting is actually comprehensible enough and to assist the voters, including in possibly looking into same-day voting. With that, would I reform or propose or support an amendment of the Electoral College, potentially abolishing it? I don't think so. But to that extent, I believe that the Electoral College does give a bit more say and power to the smaller states, and that's something we have to safeguard, encouraging every candidate who runs for president actually visit smaller states with their electoral votes.
Okay, so many would argue in opposition to the Electoral College. I will play the devil's advocate in my position as moderator. Many would argue, as you said, the Electoral College encourages candidates to visit many more states than they would otherwise. However, the dynamic is such that candidates will concentrate on very little states known as swing states, such as Florida, Ohio, the states of the Rust Belt, and so forth. Would it be fair to say that, as such, the Electoral College restricts the power of smaller states like Montana, Wyoming, New Hampshire, well, maybe not New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, and as such, does not help give voice to smaller states?
Well, if we think about the time when the framers created the Constitution and the electoral system, this was happening in the late 1776, I believe, when the Constitution was written. So they set up a system of how the presidency will work. So they implemented an electoral college system. So when we look at a system that they presented back in the 1700s compared to now we're in 2020, there are different ideas and views on how people accept them and how people view things, because it's been nearly over 200 years ago since things happened, and the ideals, the understanding of the Constitution changes over the course of time to keep up with society, of course. But to your point about swing states, since you've referenced, okay, Florida and stuff like that, I still
Don't
believe
be
that.
rude, Connor.
Yes, but everyone has a time.
Okay, I'll just wrap this up, and so we can just move forward because I'm pretty sure everyone else wants to talk too. No. So to that, I believe that what I've stated earlier about whether smaller states will be given the opportunity, we just have to keep up on the time of society, since the electoral system was created well over 200 years ago when there was just 13 states or more, and then compared to now we have 50 states. But regarding to that, it does give a little voice to, well, much more of a voice to states, smaller states like Montana and Delaware, with those small electoral votes compared to the big ones. Because again, if we just go based off popular vote, candidates would just focus on cities like New York, Orlando, Chicago, Los Angeles, Seattle, where all those big cities with mainly majority of them are Democratic strongholds. So I believe that the electoral system is in place to keep a balance between urban areas and rural America.
I would like to rebuttal.
You will have the chance to rebuttal. However, the moderator has one more follow-up question. You mentioned, yep, I do, as with the consistency. Connor, yes, Connor, no, I'm not having that.
No, it is
yes,
time to move
yes,
on.
no, Connor, no,
it is time to move on.
no,
Thank
it's
you very
not.
much.
No, we're not having favoritism.
Just give it. Let's just move on. Let's just move. Connor, just go.
You can't escape it. Kenneth, you might want to try and escape questions because you know you're scared of them. However, as the moderator, I will enforce
Excuse
that.
me.
So the question being posed is, as several points you raised in that answer was that the Constitution is over 200 years old, the Electoral College is over 200 years old. As such, you can give a very short answer to this, considering you seem so desperate to move on and avoid this policy area. Do you believe that this system is out of date?
To your question, is it out of date? Perhaps. Again, society is now completely different. We are extremely modernized than we were back in the 1776. So to the point, is it out of date? Perhaps, yes. The framers have actually created a document that was pretty much a bit vague besides Article 1, which it was actually very descriptive on its operations, what specific powers, the format and layout of the legislative branch of the United States government. So to that, is it out of date? I would assume so. So again, we just need to keep up with society now and not keep up with the society back in 1776.
All right.
Okay, now the next set of questions go. No. The question. I have one more set of questions. I have one more set of questions, and then you can have your questions. So, Senator David Davidson, you are trailing in the polls against Trump compared to Robert Sanders and other candidates. Do you believe that you are an electable candidate?
The fact of the matter is that Kenneth Fiona said that the Constitution was written in 1776, and in fact, we know that the Constitution was written in 1787. Second of all, I believe we need to have a compromise on this issue. We don't want the big states being able to bully the small states, and we don't. But also at the same time, we want to have it where the president represents the majority of the people. So what can we do? We can have a proportional electoral college, where we assign electoral college votes proportionally based off how much you win in the state. You win 60% of the vote in California, you get 60% of the electoral votes, and the other person gets however much they want. This is a fair system, and it keeps the good things about the electoral college, about the Constitution, about the original intent of the founding fathers.
All right.
It modernizes the system and makes it so we have a bit more of a democracy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Davidson. You did not answer the question. No, I've asked.
Yes.
No,
taking
no,
turns.
Connor. This is the
We're
last
taking
question
turns.
for Senate. This is the last question, and this
no.
is the last question,
No,
and then
I
you
don't
can have
care.
as many
Y'all need to
questions as you want,
maintain
and I will not
order.
interrupt.
No,
Yep, Connor, I agree.
Yeah, this is getting old. No, this is getting old. I don't have time for all of this.
Governor David Davidson, you are trailing in many polls against Donald Trump compared to other candidates such as Senator Sanders. How would you oppose the argument that you are not electable?
First of all, there's one poll. There's only been one poll that's been done so far, me versus Donald Trump. That's the CNN poll.
You realize Connor's left, right?
Not
So
like
no,
it's not like the corporate media establishment does not like it. Second of all, I won by a good majority in a state that Trump won by 100,000 votes. That's the state of Florida. I have a proven track record of being able to win in swing districts, being able to win in swing states. And now I'm ready to win in a swing country. We can bring real progress to this country, but we have to have a nominee for the Democratic Party. It doesn't make impossible promises. It also still has many of the bold, progressive ideas that people like Senator Sanders has. But messaging is important. We have to have someone that has a spirit of unity and a spirit of being able to work across the aisle with Republicans and Democrats alike to get real progress done for this country. And that's how we'll beat Donald Trump. That's how we'll take on one of the most corrupt presidents in American history. Someone who, in my view and in many other people's views, is a racist. Someone that has only been working for the corporate elite since day one he's been in office. We don't beat him by using far-left rhetoric, but we also don't beat him by promising to return to old. Trump didn't win because he promised to return. We kind of did. But in the same way, he really didn't. He wasn't like a Ronald Reagan or a Bush. He was his own thing. And Barack Obama, exactly like Senator Sanders pointed out earlier. When Obama ran in 2008, he was a progressive. When FDR ran in 1938, he was a progressive. When Jimmy Carter ran in 1976, I want to say, he was a progressive. And he lost re-election. That's because of other reasons. When Woodrow Wilson ran, I'm not a big fan of some of the stuff that Woodrow Wilson did, but he ran as a progressive for the time. So many Democratic victories have been done by progressives. We also have to be able to unify the country.
Guy was elected mayor. Let him
Governor
be mayor.
McGovern. No, Senator McGovern. My bad. He was not able to unify the country. So we have to have a nominee that can unify the Democratic Party, and then go in and unify the country so we can take on Donald Trump. That's what I plan to do.
Okay, thank you for your response. That is almost me done. I just will now allow any of the candidates to make a rebuttal to what the governor said.
We should have just stick to one topic. That would have been much easier.
No, because I believe that interrogating each candidate upon their policy beliefs is the best way to truly understand
what do
they
you
believe.
think this is? What do you think this is?
I believe
do you know where you are?
I don't think we're here to fight with the moderators. The debate is still going on.
Yeah, this is a debate. We're supposed to debate between each
Apparently
other.
it's not counting anymore.
Do you know who you are? Do you know what position you're in?
Well, yeah, I think I do know what position I'm in. I'm not sure
Well, if you
that you're
did, you wouldn't be doing this.
Joe Biden knows where he is most of the time.
This is pathetic. This is pathetic.
Well, I mean, if more questions can be asked with one topic, I'm pretty sure that's another way we can.
And you have 5 follow-ups per question. Who does that?
Well, it does get to the
Fact check
bottom.
2 follows per question.
Voters know more about their actual
Okay. Listen. How about
some people on this debate stage don't actually want the candidates and don't actually want the voters to know what they actually have to say.
I mean,
how about
Thank you.
It's called interrogating the candidate's policy.
This isn't about interrogation.
Okay, so after that whole mess, as I said before, I'm leaving the floor open to rebuttals to what Governor Davidson had to say about his electability position.
I'd like the rebuttal.
You have a rebuttal?
Yeah, it's not really against him, it's for him, though. I'd say, can we just end this debate? Because basically Mayo was pissed off everyone, so.
I don't think we should end the debate, and the debate's still going on. But if you want to leave, you can.
Oh no, we should end it. Oh yeah, we should end it because I'm not about to keep tolerating this.
seems like somebody doesn't want the voters.
So,
to
I just want to clarify, Bryson, you are not enjoying the concept of independent moderators drilling your record and policies.
You're debating.
Well, I think the American people can see here today the temperament of some of the candidates on the stage and how they can maintain patience throughout being not Mr. Quinones, but they can maintain patience throughout a process of interrogation of their beliefs.
Well,
and
for
policies
one, you're just saying that because he supports you. He supports
that's
you.
not true. That's not true.
Yeah, he supports you, and you want him to sit up here and trash and bash every candidate up here.
None of the candidates on the stage, in fact.
Okay, Mayor, just go ahead and ask more questions. Go ahead. Okay.
Kenneth, just switch to being a moderator. Just switch to being a moderator, Kenneth.
Trump's officially won.
Listen, Mayor,
Mayowa is in your pocket, and you know it.
That's why he's endorsed Marty Daves, correct?
Yeah, okay.
That is correct, Robert. So, firstly, I will considering considering. Thank you, Kenneth, for allowing me to ask more questions. So, Bryson seems to take considerable exceptions to much of the points raised in this debate. So, I will direct the next questions towards him. So, Senator Pittman, Vice President Pittman, some of your opponents have pointed out in this debate that you have a very short temperament. Donald Trump has been known to get under the skin of his opponents. Considering your opponents claim you have a short temperament, do you believe that you have too short a temper to handle a debate against Donald Trump?
He ain't gonna answer the
Vice
question.
President Pittman.
I'll answer the question. He does have a too short of a temperament to beat Donald Trump.
Mr. Pittman, I think
what we saw here today is a number of candidates, including myself, debate or engage in a substantive discussion about the policy we support. Prime example of that is his support for a public option. When he laid out what he believes in for a public option, and I got my rebuttal time, the American people saw me lay out why the public option wouldn't work, why it would be lower quality, lower services for higher costs, and contrast that with my vision for Medicare for all, how that would be quality of service, lower costs for all, how it would get rid of $11,000 in healthcare costs per average family paying $60,000.
Isn't this my time to talk?
Well, you weren't talking, Mr. Pittman, and that's just the fact.
Well, you don't get to take away my time.
And if you look at the example now, it's proving my point that he doesn't have the temperament.
You can't handle the fact obviously that you have this moderator in your pocket.
You had the option to answer the question, but you remained silent for approximately 17 years.
I apologize because my mic was on. My mic was on mute, and I didn't know it. Can you please repeat the question? Repeat the question.
So
I think this proves Robert's point.
Yeah, it does prove my point.
So many candidates have pointed out throughout this debate that you have a short temperament. Donald Trump has been known to get under the skin of his opponents. Do you believe that he will be able to easily do so against you, knowing the other candidates' objections to your short temper?
Well, thanks for that question. We all know that Donald Trump has the shortest temperament ever in any president, even ones before him who've been considered more intense. I have no doubt about it that I can outsmart and outwit Donald Trump in a debate when I face him in the general election. He is not smart, nor is he wise, nor can he actually have skill. Now, he might have been able to bully Secretary Quinones in 2016, but he won't be able to do that to me. And to my opponent, Robert's point, he can't handle the fact that I actually pinned him down on his costful proposal.
You're avoiding the question.
Yeah, well, it's funny because you're laughing because I'm right and you can't handle it, but that's okay.
Respect time.
Yeah, respect time. Anyway, he knows that he can't handle my prosecution against Medicare for All, so he likes to go low and talk about my temperament when he obviously can admit that he's wrong on Medicare for All, and he knows it. So yeah, that's it.
Can I respond to that, Mr. Overlord?
Mr. Overlord,
that you are owed a response.
May I respond to?
Thank you.
This is exactly what's wrong.
Robert,
Thank you.
Senator Sanders can respond, and then Secretary Clinton can respond.
Basically, what he did right there was question my temperament on how I responded to the public option. And when you didn't respond when your mic was quote unquote muted, all right, I responded with saying that I laid out a clear response to the public option, and then laid out my policy for Medicare for All, and I contrasted those two policies to ensure that the American people know what the argument is really about. And then you went back to the point that I'm somehow using bad faith arguments against the public option. I think the American people listening to this at home understand that I am using substantive arguments against the policy that you support. Okay, I'm using substantive arguments against the against the policies that you support, and then you snap back at me with some kind of personal remark about my electability or the supposed temperament that I'm holding when answering your questions.
You can't handle those who disagree with you, Senator.
That's a totally baseless claim. I just handled you in a crazy way, and you're making yourself look worse, Senator Biden. You're making yourself look worse, Senator Biden.
Senator,
keep it up. Keep it up, Bryson. We'll go behind the gym. We'll go behind the gym, Bryson. Bryson, this is
Secretary War Criminal Clinton. I believe you have a rebuttal with which
correct.
to make.
Just one more point. This is Vice President Pittman. This is showing the American people here today how you would handle in a debate one-on-one against the President of the United States, who's going to use a ton of bad faith arguments against you. You can't just yell against him. You're going to have to actually provide substantive arguments and point out the pathological liar that he is. Secretary Clinton.
You want to win the
okay.
Secretary Clinton, go ahead.
Listen.
I hear you.
I believe that since I am the only candidate that has been on that stage with Donald Trump, I know that I can take the heat from here. Now, going on to the points, whereas we are talking about healthcare. So, my campaign has been delivering that face when I get a call. My campaign has laid out a simple healthcare policy that I believe that would work for everyone. Now, the governor has mentioned something similar to what I believe we can all agree on. But let's look into the details further. If we go for Medicare for All, it will guarantee the healthcare insurance for the tens of millions of people that don't have it right now. But it will throw off the 150 million people off their private healthcare insurance and put them under the Medicare for All options. Now, those 150 million Americans, a large portion of them are probably guaranteed by their job. But as Senator Robert Sanders here said, if they lose their job, they lose their health care. So when we look at the prospect of if we go with Medicare for All, yes, it will guarantee a coverage for the tens of millions of people that don't right now have healthcare insurance, but it will throw off the 150 million people that are in private insurance, but it will put them under the public option. But if you look at the Medicare for All who want it, it will cover the tens of millions of people that aren't currently insured in the United States, but it won't also throw off the over 150 million Americans that have and enjoy their private healthcare insurance. But look, we can all agree that all we want. We can all agree that what we want.
Bow.
Okay,
His
Jacob.
Majesty
Yes.
is here.
Okay.
Mr.
We can
Olaf.
all.
Like, you know,
Okay.
Jake has to respond
Well,
to
I
We
would just
can
like to
all.
point out that
Oh
the
my
Jacob
God.
time.
Jacob,
What?
Mr. Ton.
the
Jacob.
dictator is back.
Can I will
No.
reclaiming my
Jacob,
time.
what example are you showing? And you're running for president. Get your shit together.
Reclaiming my time. We can all agree that what we all are presenting here is an agenda to cover millions of Americans. We want no copays, no deductibles, no upfront pays. We want price transparency. We want equal pricing for all Americans.
When is my turn?
And most importantly, we want to ensure that we can protect patients with pre-existing condition. This administration right now is battling in courts to.
Is it my turn?
No, it is not, because I am still speaking.
Yes, sir.
The Trump administration right now is in the courts trying to destroy the Affordable
Why
Care
is Aaron
Act.
here? Who's adding these people?
He's the audience. Oh my God. He wants to decide who the
Wait,
next
is the
president is.
time?
Okay, so
Damn.
then now this.
If you want my vote, you better not be questioning me.
There's no ballot.
Aaron, welcome back.
He is an American voter, and
my.
Jonas is attacking him. I want him to stop.
If elected, I will make Tulsi Gabbard my VP.
Shush!
No, you can. No, nobody's electing you.
The fact of the matter is that Jacob Pine would lose in a landslide to Donald Trump. He'd only been one
The fact
state.
of the matter.
Since this is not a reality show, let's just
This is a
start making
circus.
jokes.
The fact of the matter is, Mr. Pittman.
Actually, this is Mech Big Brother, so it is a reality show.
This is a circus, and Robert.
Oh yeah, Aaron,
we will
look,
finish
this
our
Big Brother.
debate.
How much money is it now?
Bryson, I'll go 1v1 with you.
Ooh, I'll go 1v1.
Let's go,
he's
Bryson.
gone.
1v1.
Hey,
He's gone.
hey,
Yeah.
pick me. I will know who it is, and I will know who it is, and I will. And Mac, I'll be endorsing your opponent. Don't even care who it is. I'll endorse Stephen over you.
Not even running.
All right.
Oh, it was you, Connor?
Thank you for joining us in the CBS Town Hall of the Iowa Democratic Debate. This has been
Is it my turn?
Chuck Todd.
Will anybody here promise
Thank you
to
for being
build a
here.
wall?